There is a quiet pattern that repeats itself in many lives, almost like a loop that people step into without realizing it. It does not announce itself loudly. It does not warn you in advance. It simply shows up through stress, through constant financial pressure, through that lingering feeling that no matter how much effort you put in, something always seems slightly out of reach. And the surprising part is that it is rarely about how much someone earns. More often, it is about the small financial habits that slowly shape the direction of a life. Today, we are going to explore the most common money mistakes that quietly keep people stuck in financial struggle. Not in a judgmental way, not in a way that blames anyone, but in a way that helps bring clarity. Because once you see these patterns clearly, you can start changing them. Let's begin. There is a common misunderstanding that financial stability is mostly about income. That if someone earns more, their problems automatically disappear. But in reality, many people experience the opposite. As income grows, expenses often grow with it. New habits form. New expectations appear. And without realizing it, financial pressure remains. One of the most overlooked issues is living without a clear sense of direction for money. Not a rigid plan, not an overly strict structure, but a simple awareness of where money is going and why. When that awareness is missing, money tends to slip away in directions that feel harmless in the moment but add up quietly over time. Small decisions become habits. Habits become patterns. And patterns become lifestyle expectations. Another major challenge comes from emotional spending. This is not always about large or dramatic purchases. It often begins in subtle ways. A difficult day leads to a small reward. A moment of stress leads to comfort spending. A feeling of comparison leads to unnecessary purchases that temporarily fill a gap. These moments are human. They are understandable. The problem is not the emotion itself, but the automatic response to it. When spending becomes a primary way of coping with emotions, financial stability starts to lose its foundation. Over time, money stops feeling like a tool and starts feeling like a reaction. There is also a powerful influence that comes from comparison. In a world where people constantly see curated lifestyles, it becomes easy to measure personal progress against what others appear to have. What makes this especially tricky is that most of what is visible is not the full picture. People rarely see the pressure behind appearances. They rarely see the obligations, the compromises, or the financial strain that may exist behind the scenes. Yet comparison still takes root quietly. It shifts expectations. It reshapes desires. And slowly, it can push individuals into spending patterns that do not match their real situation. When financial decisions are driven by comparison instead of clarity, stability becomes harder to maintain. Another hidden issue lies in ignoring long-term consequences in favor of short-term comfort. This is one of the most common human tendencies. The present moment always feels more urgent than the future. A small convenience today can feel more important than a distant outcome that does not feel immediate. This mindset shows up in many ways. It can be choosing immediate gratification over saving. It can be postponing important financial planning because it feels overwhelming. It can be avoiding decisions that require patience because they do not offer instant reward. The challenge is that financial stability is rarely built in moments of excitement. It is built in moments of restraint, consistency, and quiet discipline. When those moments are constantly postponed, the future naturally becomes more difficult to manage. There is also a pattern that often goes unnoticed, which is the lack of preparation for unexpected situations. Life rarely follows a perfectly predictable path. Changes happen. Circumstances shift. Needs appear suddenly. Without any form of buffer or preparation, even small disruptions can create significant stress. And when there is already financial pressure, these moments can feel overwhelming. Preparation is not about expecting the worst. It is about creating a sense of stability that allows life's unpredictability to feel less disruptive. When that stability is missing, people often find themselves reacting to situations rather than responding to them calmly. Another important factor is the habit of underestimating small ongoing expenses. Individually, these expenses rarely feel significant. They seem manageable, even negligible. But over time, they create a consistent drain that often goes unnoticed. What makes this especially challenging is that it does not feel like a single decision. It feels like many small harmless choices. Yet together, they shape the overall financial experience in a powerful way. Awareness is often the missing piece here. Not restriction, not fear, but awareness. Simply understanding where resources are going can shift behavior naturally over time. Now, here is something worth pausing on for a moment. Most people do not struggle with money because they lack intelligence or ability. They struggle because financial habits are deeply tied to psychology, emotion, environment, and learned behavior. These patterns are often formed over years, sometimes without conscious awareness. That means change does not come from sudden drastic shifts. It comes from recognizing patterns and gently adjusting them over time. And this is where things start to become empowering rather than discouraging. Because once you understand that financial difficulty is often the result of patterns rather than personal failure, you gain the ability to rewrite those patterns. Let's go deeper into that idea. Many people carry the belief that financial stability is something reserved for a certain type of person. Someone who is naturally disciplined, naturally organized, naturally good with money. But in reality, financial stability is far more about behavior than personality. It is about consistency over intensity. It is about awareness over avoidance. It is about small decisions repeated over time. Even the most financially stable individuals are not free from temptation or emotional influence. The difference is that they create space between impulse and action. That space allows clarity to enter. And clarity changes everything. When clarity is present, spending decisions are no longer automatic. They become intentional. When intention is present, money starts to feel more aligned with real priorities rather than temporary feelings. There is also a quiet transformation that happens when people begin to track not just their spending, but their reasons for spending. The reasons often reveal more than the actions themselves. Was it necessity, emotion, habit, or influence? Over time, these reflections build awareness. And awareness naturally reduces unnecessary financial pressure without force or restriction. Another shift comes from redefining what financial success actually means. For some, it is stability. For others, it is freedom from constant stress. For others, it is the ability to make choices without fear. When the definition is unclear, it becomes easy to chase external markers that do not actually bring satisfaction. But when it is clear, decisions become easier. Priorities become sharper. And distractions lose some of their power. There is also something important about patience that often gets overlooked in conversations about money. Modern life encourages speed. Quick results. Instant outcomes. Immediate progress. But financial stability does not follow that rhythm. It builds gradually, often in ways that are not immediately visible. This can feel frustrating at times, especially when effort does not produce immediate change. But over time, consistency creates a foundation that becomes increasingly stable and reliable. And perhaps the most important realization of all is this: financial improvement is rarely about doing everything perfectly. It is about becoming slightly more aware, slightly more intentional, and slightly more consistent over time. Those small shifts compound in ways that are not always obvious in the moment, but become powerful over time. As we reach the end of this reflection, it is worth thinking about your own relationship with money not as something fixed, but as something evolving. Something that responds to awareness. Something that adapts with intention. Every habit has a beginning. Every pattern can be reshaped. And every financial story is still in progress. The question is not whether change is possible. Change is always happening, with or without your awareness. Time moves forward, circumstances evolve, and with each passing day, something within you shifts: your thoughts, your habits, your priorities. The real question is not if you will change, but in what direction that change will take you. Every decision you make plays a role in shaping that direction. The small choices, how you spend your time, what you focus on, what you avoid, gradually build a path. At first, it may not seem significant. One decision feels minor, almost unimportant. But over time, these choices compound, leading you either closer to growth or further away from it. There is a level of responsibility in recognizing this. Because once you understand that change is inevitable, you also realize that direction is a choice. You can move with intention, shaping your habits and mindset in a way that aligns with who you want to become. Or you can drift without purpose, letting circumstances decide for you. In the end, change will happen regardless. But the power lies in deciding whether the change will be meaningful, deliberate, and aligned with your goals, or simply left to chance. If this message resonated with you in any way, take a moment to reflect on it. Notice the patterns that feel familiar. Think about the small shifts that might create a different outcome over time. And if you found value in this conversation, consider liking the video, subscribing for more thoughtful content like this, and sharing your perspective in the comments. Your thoughts might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today.